Shalom from Israel to all of the Daystar viewers around the world. I'm Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer and founder of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible when David said in Psalm 25:5, "Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." And God says in Zechariah 8:16, "These are the things that you shall do. Speak out the truth to one another. Judge with truth and judgment to peace in your gates. And always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, the West has capitulated to Iran. Last week, the P5+1 nations, Britain, China, France, Russia, and the United States and Germany, announced that they had signed a nuclear agreement with Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described it as a historic mistake and said it will allow Iran to continue enriching uranium and give Tehran access to $4.6 billion in currency, as well as $7 billion in sanctions relief. Netanyahu added that the world has become a much more dangerous place because the most dangerous regime in the world made a significant step in obtaining the most dangerous weapon in the world. Jerusalem officially denounced the deal and said that it will not be bound by it. Israeli Intelligence Minister Yuval Steinitz said Israel cannot participate in the international celebration, which is based on Iranian deception and international self-delusion. Israel is sounding an alarm as the world powers praise their own efforts. Iran currently holds enough enriched uranium to produce a nuclear weapon with which to destroy the Jewish state. And the hardline Islamic Republic has not shied away from its true intentions. On the eve of the agreement, Iran's supreme leader called for the annihilation of Israel. Erin Viner has more on that story.
Yes, Yochanan, Ayatollah Khamenei gave an angry speech on the eve of the nuclear talks with the P5+1, during which he called Israelis less than human and the Jewish state the rabid dog of the region that is doomed to failure and annihilation. Western news affiliates largely ignored those alarming remarks because, according to an Israeli analyst, they prefer the image of the new regime. But the fact is that to understand the Islamic Republic, it is essential to know that the ultimate authority resides with Khamenei. The crowds attending Khamenei's speech applauded and chanted, "Death to America."
The Canadian government has been outspoken regarding its opposition to the nuclear deal with Tehran. Canada's Foreign Minister, John Baird, said he is deeply skeptical of the agreement. He went on to say that Ottawa will keep its tough sanctions in full force because Iran has not earned the right of the benefit of the doubt. The Canadian official added that effective sanctions have forced the regime to present a more moderate front and open the door to negotiations. In July, after Canada effectively cut all diplomatic ties with Iran and expelled all Iranian diplomats, Baird said Canada views the government of Iran as the most significant threat to global peace and security in the world.
The White House has been holding secret meetings with Iran, the world's largest state sponsor of international terrorism. U.S. President Barack Obama personally authorized covert, high-level talks with the Islamic Republic, which have been taking place for over a year. According to a report in the Associated Press, senior White House officials have met at least 5 times with their Iranian counterparts in the Gulf state of Oman.
Azerbaijani police have released details of the arrest of an Iranian national suspected of planning a terrorist attack on the Israeli embassy in Baku. Israel's Channel 10 television reported that the man in custody is a member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's Al-Quds Force, a special unit tasked with planning and executing terrorist attacks on Israeli targets overseas. Israel has made great efforts to cooperate with Azerbaijan, a moderate Muslim state which borders Iran. In retaliation, Iran has instigated unrest in the country. In the last 2 years, several Iranian terrorist plots have been uncovered in Azerbaijan.
Christian women in Nigeria are being forced to convert to Islam or die. The Boko Haram Muslim terrorist group has been waging a bloody jihad in a West African nation and is now kidnapping Christian women and forcing them to convert in what's being seen as an attempt to obliterate Christianity. A spokesman for the United States Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor said that his organization has seen reports of forced conversion and enslavement. A representative for the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom said that the goal of the al-Qaeda-linked terror group is to implement Muslim Sharia law nationwide. And in 2012, the group called on all Christians to leave northern Nigeria. Toward that end, Boko Haram has attacked churches during worship services to maximize the number of victims. It kills individual Christians and forces Christians to convert to Islam or die, and kills all critics of Islam. In the first 6 months of 2012, 50 churches were bombed, burned, or attacked, resulting in the death of at least 366 Christians.
Lebanese authorities have identified the second terrorist who detonated a suicide bomb in Beirut as a Palestinian man with ties to a radical Lebanese cleric. The simultaneous bombings outside the Iranian embassy killed at least 23 people, including the Iranian cultural attaché. 150 people were wounded in that blast.
The Oxford Research Group has released a study called Stolen Future on the hidden toll of child casualties in Syria, detailing the murder of 11,420 children since the beginning of the war in March of 2011. Co-author Hamid Daragan said that what is the most disturbing thing about the findings is not only the sheer number of children killed in this conflict, but the way that they are being killed. The document cites incidents of young children being gassed and tortured, and calls on the world to take a much closer interest in the effects that the conflict is having on Syria's children.
An Israeli delegation gathered at the United Nations last week on the 65th anniversary of the expulsion of more than 1 million Jews from Arab countries in the Middle East. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Ron Prosor, said that since 1947, the UN has passed 687 resolutions relating to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, 11 of which dealt specifically with Palestinian refugees. And yet, he said, there is not one resolution that says a single word about Jewish refugees. This is a chapter in the chronicles of history which seems to have fallen off the shelf. The Israeli diplomat added that by making the Palestinians the poster child for international victimhood, the Arab states believe they hold a permanent trump card to defame and pressure Israel. We cannot and will not allow the history of the Jewish refugees to be swept under the Persian carpet. Israeli Minister Silvan Shalom said that in the United Nations we hear a great deal about the suffering of the Palestinian refugees, but we never hear about the suffering of 1 million Jewish refugees. He said this injustice cannot continue. The Arab countries must accept responsibility for the billions of dollars of property confiscated and for the suffering of the 1 million Jews who had no choice but to flee for their lives.
Apple has purchased PrimeSense Technologies for $345 million. The company was founded in Tel Aviv and specializes in 3D motion sensing technology. PrimeSense gained popularity when it became integrated with the Xbox Kinect's gaming system. The company's founders say that their service in an elite IDF military intelligence unit not only served as an inspiration, but provided them with the extensive technological education necessary to create the application. Israeli high-tech companies have become a hot commodity in the global market. Intel recently announced their $65 million investment in 3 Israeli startups. Facebook acquired the Israeli company Onavo for more than $100 million, and Google purchased the Israeli navigation application Waze for over $1 billion.
The city of Jerusalem hosted the annual International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. The mayor of Jerusalem, Nir Barkat, spoke at the event, saying, "We must act with all our means to prevent violence against women and to promote women in every area of society." Israel is a champion of women's rights, and the Israeli Knesset works in several ways to help protect the rights of women, especially in Muslim countries where their rights are greatly limited.
More than 1 million Jewish children have been killed by abortion in Israel since 1948. Israel is currently engaged in a demographic war for its very survival as a Jewish state. Imagine what a difference 1 million more Jews would have made for Israel. Friends of Efrat saves the lives of thousands of children every year by providing support to pregnant women in distress. Since 1977, Efrat has saved over 30,000 lives and is recognized as a world leader in preventing abortions. You can play a major role in Israel's survival now by helping us save Israel's unborn children.
And that concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here in yet another beautiful day in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio. My guest today is Dr. Eli Schusheim, President of the Efrat organization. Dr. Schusheim, thank you for being on the show.
Very nice to be here.
Dr. Schusheim, tell our viewers a little bit about what is Efrat.
Efrat is the organization that saves lives of unborn children from mothers that they decide to perform abortions because of the economical difficulties.
Why is there a need for such an organization? Is abortion a major problem in Israel today?
In 1977 was legalized the abortion. This was the first time that I heard as a doctor specialized in surgery that we are losing about 60,000 unborn children every year. Most of them because difficulties. This is the reason that I decided to devote my life completely voluntarily for this purpose. And I start to work in this issue. And since then, we have the possibility to save more than 56,000 unborn children. Most of these mothers that in the principle, in the beginning, they thought that they must to perform the abortions. All of them, they had the diagnosis, unborn pregnancy. At the end, all of these mothers, they are very happy that they didn't perform the abortion. We don't have one case that the mother that brought the child, she decided that she regrets why she didn't perform the abortion.
Well, how do you help these mothers to have the children? What are the incentives that you give so that economically they can have children?
We found that if we will be able to promise them that we will give them everything what they need, all these supplies that they need for these children for a year, for 2 years, and so on. And we will be together with these mothers, with volunteers. Most of these volunteers are women that in the past they wanted also to perform the abortions. After they didn't perform the abortion, they bring the child. They want to provide to these mothers, also encourage and to support these mothers. And then we have more than 3,000 volunteers such in all the places, all the cities in Israel.
You know, children are the number one natural resource in Israel. Our children is what makes us succeed all around in every field. How is the government of Israel seeing the Efrat organization? Is it something that's a blessing for them?
I can tell you that in the beginning they were against the Efrat. At this moment, they know that we are saving lives. They know that we don't have any case that the mother regret, and we are bringing more children, more lives in Israel. And the rate of the abortion in Israel, what it was in the beginning in 1976, there was about 60,000, now we are 40,000 every year. We are losing every day more or less 110 unborn children.
Wow, you know, I'm not just a fan of the Efrat organization. My wife and I actually support the Efrat organization. And something that means a lot to us is that every year when we sponsor a child, we get a certificate with the name of the child who was born that we sponsored. Tell us a little bit about that.
We want from the beginning, I wanted to show to every donor that he's saving a life of a child. How he will be able to understand that he is saving, because this is his child. We are sending the certificate with the name of the child and of the date that he was born. And every year we are trying to make a book, the book of life, with all the names of these children that we saved. But about every year, about 4,000 a year. But the problem is that we want to save more and more. Our problem is that most of the people in the world, they don't know that we have the best way to save these lives, not with demonstrations, not with debates, not to change the law. The problem is to bring the problem that this mother has. What is the reason? The diagnosis. What is the reason why they decide to perform the abortion?
You know, it's interesting. I had a guest who is a politician from Macedonia who came to Israel to learn about Efrat so they can bring that to their country. Do you see a lot of people around the world saying, we need to have an Efrat in our country?
Yes. We want to spread our way to save lives in all because we are knowing that the problem of the abortions is a problem in all the world. Yes. And we have a special way how to treat this problem.
Now, I understand that you also did a meeting on Congress in Washington, D.C. about this. Tell me about that a little bit.
I can tell you that it was something emotional. It was very, very interesting, this emotion, because all the senators, they came, all the congressmen, they came. When they saw, they tell us that they want that they should have also such organization in the United States. One time they came also to our offices to look and to see everything and to ask the question how we are dealing this problem, yes, in our country.
Dr. Schusheim, there are literally tens of millions of people watching from around the world. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
I can tell every swag like I decide to devote my life because I don't think that there is a better investment. There is no better investment to save lives because we are saving the life not only of this child, we are saving the life of all these future generations that this child will bring joy of these mothers and happiness to these mothers. We are bringing more lives in the world.
Dr. Schusheim, thank you for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
This is Jerusalem, Israel's capital city. It's an ancient and modern treasure that is beyond belief. There's a little bit of Israel in all of us. Come find the Israel in you.
Up next, Shining Light from Israel.
Modern transportation is driven almost entirely by conventional fuel. As a result, oil is considered the most strategic commodity in use today. Remove the fuel supply, and sophisticated economies will grind to a halt. And here lies the problem. Besides the fact that fossil fuel emissions are a major factor in the advancement of global warming, almost 80% of the world's crude oil reserves are situated in countries of the Middle East, all of which are undemocratic and are openly hostile to the West. They use the revenue they generate from sales to acquire weapons and sponsor terrorism. Moreover, every time one of the oil-producing countries wants to pressure the developed world, it cuts back production and causes gasoline prices to skyrocket. Not a healthy situation for a nation that needs both security and fuel at reasonable prices. And by the way, this is what commuters in Beijing have to endure on their roads. In some places, the pollution is so dense that visibility is restricted to less than 100 meters. In 2009, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced that Israel is taking the lead to help the world lose its dependence on oil. Several universities, private companies and startups have been involved in alternative energy research for years.
We believe that we can produce this oil, actually this finished product, between $35 and $40 per barrel. And today, Today, Brent crude is $115 per barrel. And with time, our costs will go down because it's technologically and R&D based, whereas conventional oils are based just on the available supply, which is short. Demand is going up because you have countries like China and India with a growing population wants to have cars, and the amount of available conventional oil is going down.
Yossi Hollander believes that for the short term, using natural gas for transport is the way to go.
Everybody always joked that Israel is the only place in the Middle East with no oil and gas. That joke is finally over. Israel has found significant amounts of natural gas in the Mediterranean. And the opportunity for Israel is to actually convert its fleet away from oil, its car fleet, its truck fleet, to natural gas or to byproducts of natural gas, for example, methanol.
The transportation experts say now is the time for the government to act. Once the decision is made, they say, within less than 10 years, the country's entire fleet of vehicles can be powered by electricity or by fuel derived from natural gas, and will prove to the world how quickly it can be done, and especially how economical it is.
Anywhere else, this would be a vacation by a lake. But this is the Sea of Galilee. The wonders of Israel are beyond belief. There's a little bit of Israel in all of us. Come find the Israel in you.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
We are here at the Israeli Knesset, the parliament of the State of Israel. Just a few days ago, the Israeli cabinet around Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made another important decision to allow the segment and a group of the Bnei Menashe to return back to Israel. For the International Christian Embassy, this has been an exciting project to be involved with over the last couple of months, and we want to invite you today to become part, writing a new page of the modern-day story of the nation of Israel.
In the late 1970s, a few individuals from a small group located in northeast India began to research the origins of their religious traditions and their ancestry. Their research led them to discover an ancestral connection to Israel. Under Persian rule, their ancestors traveled through the Silk Route to modern-day Afghanistan, Tibet, China, and finally to northeast India, in the midst of Myanmar and Bangladesh. This particular group, called the Bnei Menashe, or Sons of Menashe, are believed to be descendants from the lost tribe of Manasseh. In the early 1980s, members of the group made contact with an organization in Israel expressing an interest in returning to their ancient homeland. Through the faithful giving of Christian partners from around the world, the ICEJ was able to provide air transportation for 200 members of the first group of this wave of Bnei Menashe as they made their way back to their ancient homeland in Israel. Living today in the northern coastal city of Akko, many of the Bnei Menashe who came at that time are now well integrated into Israeli society and their children enrolled in Israeli schools. At this year's Feast of Tabernacles celebration, presented by the ICEJ in Jerusalem, two representatives of the Bnei Menashe, together with Michael Freund, the Israeli government point man overseeing the return of the Bnei Menashe, were able to express their thanks to the many Christians who had shown their support by giving to this special project.
Thank you for everything. And I never in my dream think that I will do I'll celebrate my Sukkot like this.
We are privileged to be living in an era when those ancient words are coming to life, coming off the page of the Bible and walking in front of us. I used to wonder, Jews going home to Israel, it's a great story, but what does it have to do with Christians? But Isaiah chapter 49, verse 22, God says that you, the nations, you will carry us, our sons and our daughters, back to this land. If it's good enough for the prophet Isaiah, it's good enough for me. So please, keep carrying us with your prayers. Keep carrying us with your love. Keep carrying us with your support.
After the Israeli government made this decision to allow more Bnei Menashe to return back to Israel, the International Christian Embassy decided to help the first group of 200 sons of Menashe to return back to Israel within this year 2013. That means we urgently need your help and your support in order to accomplish that. To bring 200 people back means we need $300,000 in these coming weeks. If you want to support one person to come back, it would cost $1,500. I want to encourage you to prayerfully consider to sponsor this end-time mission to help the return of the Jewish people back to their homeland. And remember, we are your embassy here in Jerusalem. May the Lord bless you out of Zion.
To learn more about this special project and the ICEJ, or to make a donation, visit our website at www.icej.org.
Those who dreamed about the Jewish state, those who wrought the historical miracle, and against all odds established a state. Those who arrived in the homeland to their new home. Those who propelled Israel forward, step after step.
I have no doubt that this expanded partnership with our many Christian supporters will greatly strengthen Israel in the years ahead. And I want to thank you all for being part of that historic effort and that historic partnership. May God bless all of Israel's friends throughout the world. May God bless you.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all your Israel updates.